So the sort of criteria for a patriarchy or a patriarchal society is looking at whether or not there is a gender pay gap in work, which we've already just discussed. Yes, there is. Women are paid about 86% overall of what men are paid. A patriarchal legal system. So what we're looking at, the sort of the way she describes this is in patriarchal societies, laws and rules are biased towards men. Now, I know men are going to say, no, that's not true because women get everything in divorce courts. I'm going to leave this for another week because that's not true.
No.
In fact, men long term recover from divorces much faster than women do.
Can we emphasise this, and can
Yes.
you explain why?
Really essential. What women are doing is renting the family home for the children until the children come of age, and at that point, then generally is that then there's an equalisation once the children are adults.
Unless the men have 50-50 custody or not, because already can we assume that
I'm just going to very briefly touch on this because generally most parents do not go to court actually and get custody. There is no automatic custody.
And can we just say
the
also
presumption is shared
they don't
care.
Want this now. The
Custody is a very old word as well.
But solicitors, mudslinging is out of fashion now. It's not.
It never has. It never has been in fashion for solicitors. This again is another stupid myth that's perpetuated by TV programs. Solicitors, they're actually the ones who try to keep the peace.
Exactly.
They want to try because it's not worth it. These people don't generally. For us, I'm being mercenary here, but for us, there's usually not a lot of money.
Exactly.
They can't afford it. We're not going to sit here doing work we know we're not going to get paid on. What our role is to cut through all the animosity and the mudslinging and actually try and get people to a level where they can co-parent.
Yes.
It's actually the parents most of the time are the ones who go, oh, she didn't tell her, oh, he's changed it last minute, oh, blah, 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 blah. It won't let him see the kids because he doesn't have the right type of juice, and he's saying pettiness. That, it's a lot of pettiness, and it's our role to cut through that. But in family law, on the face of it, it appears that women seem to be favoured by the courts. Some judges, yes. Some judges, no. And in fact, it does depend in the area you're in as well, the regional courts and the judges and the approaches then they tend to take. I know a lot of judges who are very wife-friendly. I know a lot of judges who are very husband-friendly, so it tends to even out.
I will say, though, judges on the whole, our culture values work. And judges on the whole, I haven't met a single judge who wouldn't value a woman going back out to work or a man. They don't allow people to just sit on their bottoms.
I've known some judges who do.
Right.
And they're not women.
What reason do they give? That you mean they encourage?
Well, they're very much their view is let's keep the status quo. If that's the way the marriage has been and you've put up with it, we're doing long marriages here.
Are we talking precedent? When a precedent?
No, precedent is your appellate court, so that's Supreme Court of Appeal. I'm talking local sort of county court level.
Right. But if a precedent is if let's say the mother stayed at home and the father has been the breadwinner and gone out, so her career is flatlined for the sake of the children, looking after children. He's gone off and his career has exploded stratospherically, and she's stuck on a minimum
doesn't
salary.
Need to be stratospherically.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. It's just he's managed to, where does that lie? Does she still have to then
Depends
go out
on the
and
length
work?
of the marriage. If we're looking at a long marriage, and when I started work, you're looking at 20 years being a long marriage. Now it's about 8.
Gosh,
another
what
judge,
does
it might
that
be
say?
shorter.
Yeah.
Another marriage, it might be shorter.
Monogamous, one at a time.
Yeah. So it again, I'm going to do the old lawyer answer. It depends. But usually, if say you're looking at a 15, 20-year marriage, they both worked. Probably she didn't have as strong a career as he had to begin with.
Which is the chances are.
Because again, and again, I'm afraid to say a lot of men do complain that women don't get off their backsides and work, but then you picked her. You picked a woman who at the end of the day would give up her career. You've picked a woman who's not career-minded precisely because career-minded women threaten you. Yeah. So if you want to pick a woman who you've picked because she's not a threat to you, because you feel threatened by women who are your equal or better, then I'm afraid she's going to go after you for money. She's going to go after men. So I did have a chap in once who wanted advice. And no, can I just finish this? He said, because I said to him, does she work then? And he said, well, no. He said, I don't believe that women who have kids should go out to work. I said, well, then you're going to have to pay her maintenance.
Exactly.
And he didn't see why he should.
He has to live
But you can't expect a woman who spent 15 years at home to suddenly walk into a £36,000 a year job. What do you want?
So he's not willing to put his money where his mouth is.
No.
What a coward. What an you know
Well, it's
what?
not a coward, it's a pig.
Pig.
You know, I mean, where's the logic? Where's the sense? Where's the
I
fairness
don't know why I'm
in
saying
that?
coward. I want to say something far worse. I think coward just was one of those words that I didn't mean. It's worse. It's terrible. It's appalling.
The trouble is, a lot of men will
It's
claim.
hypocritical
A lot
to
of
the
men will
point
claim that
of-
women choose to stay at home, but they don't choose to stay at home. The point is the way the laws are, and again, this is kind of going into another topic here, but the problem is the way the laws are. Men get 2 weeks off work, and as Michael Gove's wife said, he just sat around at home for 2 weeks expecting her to get him tea and look after the newborn.
Oh yeah.
You know,
they
so
don't actually get on the whole.
the woman
do
has up to 9 months off work, and so obviously she's going to be at home with the baby. She's going to be the primary caregiver of the child. Sorry, that's an unpopular phrase, but she will be. It's established right from birth that she will have the majority of care of the child.
Yeah.
So she's going to end up getting all the rights. She's going to end up getting all the money because she's the one who's got the children to provide for.
But it protects her then. The
Well,
law
it protects the children.
protects the children. I keep going back to no, it protects the children. And we're the vessels of the children.
At the end of the day, they want to
protecting-
keep the status quo for the children. They don't want to take the child away from the primary caregiver. Now, if the husband had been at home and looked after the children and been responsible for the children, this is decided on a case-by-case basis. There's no strict sort of definition of a primary caregiver. It's not just who's at home with the children the most, it's who's taking care of the children, who's carrying the mental responsibility for the children, who's remembering the play dates, who's making sure they get to school, who's doing all the weekly shopping, who does all
massive.
the doctor's appointments, dentist appointments,
It's
lots
relentless.
of different things.
It's relentless.
Yeah.
And especially now,
It's
raising
not just
children,
who's been delegated the task of taking the child, but who is actually thinking about the fact
It's
that the child
thinking,
needs to go.
absolutely.
That is the primary caregiver.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is usually the mother.
And let me tell you, and I've gone to a lot of mother toddler groups, and I've asked this because little sort of mini sociologists, just seeing the patterns. Not one mother said to me that her husband ever thought about play dates and arranging play dates. Not one. Not one mother. And I have spoken to hundreds of mothers over the years.
Well, this goes back to what we
This
said
is
in
going
the
in
first
hundreds.
week.
This is data now.
But this is what we.
because
This is
I
going
asked
back
this
to the first
question a
episode.
lot.
Women are the organisers. It happens even at work. Women are there to organise men at work, and women are there to organise men at home, and to also organise the children.
Yeah.
And somehow this has become a secondary, subservient, almost ridiculous role of
Yeah.
women. Women are always punished for having this role, and I don't understand that.
It's a role that I absolutely
I think
find
it's a
beyond
pivotal
belief.
role.
It's a role that I find so overwhelming. However, it just becomes instinctive, or whatever you want to call it, cultural, and it's overwhelming. There is so much now. You've got to remember, and not just for women who've got children, women in general, the caregiving role.
I mean, essentially, if you
And
want
we
to
don't
have,
get value.
if you want to have more than the woman in a divorce, because you feel that all the money you've earned is just your money, and she's had no input into that, if that's how you feel, then you need to finish your careers as soon as the children are born and stay at home and look after the children.
Yeah. And you think about the play dates, you think about the birthday parties, you think about
And I'll tell you something,
holiday
I've had, can I
organising,
just say, I've
you
had
think
cases,
about
no,
the
can
social-
I just say, I've had cases where mothers have behaved in such a way so obstructive to contact that I have actually advised fathers to go for what we call a live with order now in the old language is custody. And do you know what they've done? And I said, you have the children, you have full sole custody of that child, you're responsible for that child, you have that child all the time, and they just spend time with mum. And do you know what they've said? No, I don't want that. Now, I'm not saying that's every guy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there are men out there who do want to go for full custody rights.
When push comes
Never been one of my clients in 20 years, can I just say that?
20 years. So that's 2 generations, 20 years. You've never had a man volunteer or want to volunteer to take on this.
I have
what
had
I call it the daily grind. I'll call it the daily grind of caregiving, which is literally where your mind is absent. Your thinking, your mind is totally absent on yourself. It is totally vicariously through your children, and that is what it's about. And also, I do think resources come into play.
What they will say is,
mothers
but
are
I've got to
thinking
work.
about their
No.
security.
I just want to qualify
Yeah.
that, because men do say, well, I've got to go out and work and I've got a full-time job. And men generally find that work is more inflexible for them than, say, a woman. But I very rarely find that men have actually tried and seen what is available to them, looked at alternative career paths, looked at taking alternative roles, looking at redeployment within the same company. I've very rarely seen that.
Yeah.
What men really want is shared care. They want equal time with the children.
Yeah.
So,
So,
but yeah, you don't mind, we're recording, you don't mind, do you? Okay.
yeah. What they want is
What they want is shared care, but they don't want full. don't get me wrong. Yes, I have had a couple of cases. I'm aware of Lola dismantling our highly technical setup here.
Away.
I am aware that I have had cases where men at the outset have wanted to get custody of their children. I'm using the old term custody because I think people understand that better than live with orders.
Right.
But
can you
generally,
just differentiate? Custody is an older term.
it's just the old term. It's the
and
old
now
term.
it's live-in orders.
Yeah, we changed it to residence and now it's a live with. But no, so it was custody then residence, now it's live with order. But I have had some clients, fathers, who have wanted from the outset to go for full custody. But generally, and I will say this, I've had a feeling about these people that it's part of a controlling behaviour.
Yeah.
And they will claim that they were primary caregivers, and actually when I've taken full detailed instructions or evidence has come out, because I'll go for it. At the end of the day, if that's been the child's position, if that's been the status quo for the child, that they have been cared for by their fathers, and yes, there are fathers out there who do that, then that's fine. I will go for that. But generally, as the evidence comes out and as you see how it goes on, and you start writing letters, and is he going to pick them up here, is he going to do this, is he gonna... he's not been the primary caregiver, and you can see it's part of controlling coercive behaviour. Can I just say you're out of shot?
Oh, sorry, we're going to talk about that though. I was really intently listening to that because it's interesting. Law is
I'm not saying that there isn't controlling coercive behaviour on the part of mothers. I see that a hell of a lot. And I want to go into that in Female Narcissism Week. But yeah, generally, on the whole, in terms of what is patriarchy, we've talked about gender pay gap, patriarchal legal system. In fact, the family law side of it is not actually in favour of mothers. It just happens to be that predominant number of primary caregivers are mothers, so there's some indirect discrimination there, but that's not based on a prejudice as such. And even then, the prejudice that a woman is the natural nurturing caregiver is not a feminist one, I'm afraid.
But also,
children are not about ownership. Can I just also say, children are not a chattel, and it's not about taking a child to punish another parent. And the trouble is, I do feel misogynists need to get away from this, because they look very much at the issue of children and child law as which one is getting this chattel. It's a chess piece all the time, and that is why it smacks of controlling and coercive behaviour rather than a legitimate argument for men's rights. It's like I'm saying, not all parents are just against this, and all of them are at each other's throats trying to say no to everything. A lot of the time, fathers want to provide for their children.
Of course. It's just communication, isn't it? Would you encourage that? Good
of course we do. It makes our lives so much easier.
Of course it does.
We have a lot of cases. We don't want to be sitting there on the phone till 7 o'clock at the night, going on about the same old things.
It's not a big deal, is it?
No, it's not. When you get confronted by a 12-page letter from the solicitor.
He didn't do my washing.
I know.
She didn't.
And all you want to write is get a grip of your client. But in terms of the rest of the legal system, and that's family law only, in terms of the rest of the legal system, I mean, you've got things like discrimination law and employment law, general civil litigation under contract law, consumer law. And then we've already discussed aspects of criminal law, where it's predominantly male on female violence, sexual offences. Very much the laws and rules are biased towards men.
I think
very much the laws and rules are biased.
In this respect, would you say it's when it comes to divorce and family
what
law,
I will say with divorce, can I just know what I will say with divorce is that in any case regarding financial proceedings or a financial order in respect to the financial settlement, we have what are called Section 25 factors. So Section 25 of the Matrimonial Causes Act 1973 sets out the factors to consider when deciding an appropriate financial settlement. I shall just talk to myself. And those are gender blind. That's what I'm going to say. What they look at are things like length of the marriage, whether there are any children, who is the primary caregiver of the children, any special needs of the parties, any special needs of the children. They will look at financial contributions, and they will also look at the stellar contributions. They'll look at non-financial contributions that have been made by either party. There are lots of different factors they will consider, and there is the overriding fairness principle in all legal proceedings. These are gender blind principles. Where gender seems to come into it is where there seems to be a result that seems to overwhelmingly benefit or reward one gender over the other. But that is down to the family dynamic, and that is down to the nuclear family setup.
And can I just say, after hearing some Angela Saini, and not just that in general, we're living it and breathing it and being immersed in it and seeing it, the nuclear family is an incredibly patriarchal concept.
Well, that's what I want to go on to. So I just want to finish. I just want to finish. So looking at what defines, what makes a patriarchy, what makes a patriarchal society. So again, we're looking at things like gender pay gap, differences between pay between men and women, whether or not the laws and rules, patriarchal legal system, whether they're biased towards men. And I think we've established that, yes, whilst men, misogynists, I will say, have picked up on this supposed, favour of women in family law, they glaringly overlook the unfairness and general bias towards men in criminal law, particularly in domestic violence and abuse and rape cases, sexual offence cases. But always point to that whenever we discuss any accusations or allegations in the media. So where you've got celebrities making accusations or allegations, is I'm not going to make up my mind. It will be decided in a court of law, knowing damn well that we have only got a 9% conviction rate, and that there is huge bias towards men. But they will treat the law as being fair. When it comes to bias in favour of male defendants, but we don't treat the law as fair if it's seemingly in favour of women in a family court. So we glaringly overlook that hypocrisy. I just want to point that out.
It's massively hypocritical.
Another thing. So again, we've just discussed this, looking at unequal distribution of domestic work. So in patriarchal societies, men benefit from women's unpaid labour. And I have to say, I was thinking about this. Now, this is an argument where generally people say I'm a misogynist because I don't think women should be paid to breed. That's my view. I'm sorry, I go out and work for my money. And the Marxist argument is we pay women to stay at home and have babies. I don't see why I should pay for a woman to stay at home and have a baby. It's not my baby as far as I'm concerned. It's not any contribution to me or the rest of society. But on the other hand, I started looking at the other side of the coin. Now, if I, as a single woman, decided to have a child and go out and work, and I wanted somebody to come and clean my house while I'm at work, and look after my children while I am at work, I would have to pay quite a lot of money for that.
All your salary would go on to childcare.
Would go on childcare and housekeeping. So I'm sorry, but wives sitting there doing all this for nothing. And fair enough, yes, the wife, these children are half hers. The house is half hers. Well, it should be, really. Yes, all right, she should suck up some of that cost, but equally, I think she should also be paid for 50% of that cost, because he would have to pay someone else to do it. So,
but do you not?
She's only getting half of that benefit, yet she's doing all of the work unpaid, and I think
child rearing, especially now. And sorry, I'm just stating the fact here.
So now what I'm saying is I've slightly come around to Marxist thinking.
That's basically what she's saying.
Very slightly.
You have suddenly adopted.
You repeat it, I'll deny it.
Yeah, I won't say. All right, gentle persuasion.
You'll never get me there.
No, I know. You have to come to these things yourself. But the reality is, but Marxist theory, they're powerful. It's a powerful thing because it's reality. And the reality is that
Marxism is far from reality as you can get.
No, in this respect, it's being realistic.
Yeah.
Because in this respect, child rearing, when the woman takes on, it is unpaid GDP.
Yeah, no.
Because these little people are going to grow, one would hope, especially among working middle class families. They're going to be brought up to go into work. It is unpaid, but that's what I'm saying.
But are they? I mean, generally, I think kids who are born of, and studies have shown this, kids who are born of parents who don't work generally don't work themselves.
Well, no, because it's cyclical. It's a cyclical effect.
Well, it's the model, isn't it? They're going by the model that was shown to them. So, I'm not seeing people having children as being a contribution. If anything, we're bloody overpopulated in the world and it's destroying the planet. So, in fact, it's harming society. It's not benefiting.
No, and it has. We have been. But we're going to go back to how that's a patriarchal, again, concept. Because I think if you go back to pre-agricultural years, women were not having more than 2 or 3 children.
Yeah, that's quite
If you look at your orangutan, they have child every 8 years. They don't have more than one, 2 or 3.
Quite agree with you.
If you look at bonobos, and actually often
matriarchal
some
societies have much lower birth rates. And in fact, when you start to break down patriarchy very much focuses on increasing population rates. In fact, we're going to go on to this about that's partly how patriarchy started, was to increase birth rates. We are now at the end result of having patriarchy for 3,000, 5,000 years, is we are killing our planet. We are overpopulated. We're eating unnatural diets. We're sitting eating grass and bloody vegetables all the time when we should be eating meat and fish. But we can't afford to feed the whole world meat and fish. And in fact, increasing cattle populations, they reckon, and I'll accept the leftist environmentalist argument that is destroying the planet through methane, that's because we have too many people. Not everybody can eat this stuff. So we're sitting here eating unnatural diets because we are overpopulated. Even David Attenborough, trite example, has said...
If he can say it, you can say it.
I can say it. Even he said, you are never going to cure the problems with the environment until the population dramatically drops. I will put this euphemistically, what he said. But the fact is, we have too many bloody people in the world.
But why is that? Because
we have been breeding too much. Because we've had patriarchy.
Exactly. Because women were confined as just breeders.
So we're looking at gender pay gap, patriarchal legal system, unequal distribution of domestic work, which we've just discussed, and men benefiting from women's unpaid labour. Still, women do most of the housework and childcare in the Western world, and picking up your kid once a week is not doing most of the childcare, boys. All right, exclusion of women from decision making. So patriarchal societies often exclude women from decision making processes, which can be seen in politics, where women are underrepresented in positions of power. Strangely enough, more female leaders in the Tory party than Labour. You can see this now. I remember about 5-6 years ago, I think it was, the FTSE 100 companies announced that they were going to increase the level of women in positions of CEOs and board directors from 17% to 25%. Every single misogynist on the internet literally went hysterical. Why should women get a job just because they're women? Well, that's funny, because men have been getting jobs just because they're men, but that's fine. But we're talking 17% to 25%. This isn't even half, right? What amused me more than anything is a lot of leftists and Labour voters or Labour supporters were coming out, saying about how sexist capitalism is. 15% of trade union representatives were women. Gosh. That's even less. That's even fewer,
you've got
than your corporate CEOs.
Well, this is why I do believe in radical feminism.
So what I'm saying is, you look at the far end of capitalism, you look at the further end, shall we say, of sort of leftist socialist politics in trade unionism. Women are underrepresented everywhere. It's how many candidates did they have for the Labour leadership when Keir Starmer was running? How many women were there? 6, 7, 8? One man, he still got the job. Don't get me wrong, I don't think any of them were qualified,
it's
including...
not political, really.
Including Mr. Let's Jimmy Savile get away with it, DPP.
No, it's a problem on both sides, isn't it? There's this sort of transcends politics, really, because it is a bigger...
But what I'm saying is women are excluded from decision-making processes. Still, predominantly men are in charge everywhere. We still have more male Supreme Court judges. We still have more men in politics. I know that possibly now it's become a bit more even, I think, in the parties with MPs. Or is it MPs or is it cabinet ministers?
No, I think
it's possibly equal in cabinet ministers. I don't know. There've been so many different bloody cabinets in the last few years. I'm struggling to keep up, to be honest. And then we talk about institutional discrimination against women. So in patriarchal societies, often women are discriminated against in institutions such as schools, workplaces. And we can see this in the lack of female representation in leadership positions. I think this is closing. I don't know about things like in schools and stuff like that. I think that maybe some women want to come and argue. I don't know enough about this. That we're being fed the line that men and women are fairly equal in terms of representation in leadership positions. What I know, I mean, I've worked in my own firm, which has been an all-female partner firm. I've never heard of another all-female partner firm. There is still predominantly a large number of all-male partnered firms. I don't know how this works in terms of companies. I think the gap is closing, is all I'm going to say. But there is still very much institutionalised discrimination against women. You just need to see the police force. Look at the Met. Look at the Met recently. They're talking about 60 police officers a month, they reckon, are going to be sacked under the Met's investigation of institutionalised sexism.
It's systemic. It's systemic.
Was it 1,000 police officers have been sacked and suspended?
We used to see it a lot. Domestic abuse is...
But, they stuck Cressida Dick at the top. I mean, the name kind of gave you a clue, really, didn't it? They stuck her at the top as to be the fall guy. And I have noticed this. I mean, Margaret Thatcher was very much brought in as the leader of the Conservative Party in the 70s because they knew that they were not going to be able to recover the economy so badly after particularly the Callaghan Labour leadership in the 70s, in the winter of discontent, the strikes and everything. And they underestimated her because she absolutely crushed the unions, Margaret Thatcher. Whether you like her or not, she turned this country around. She turned that economy around.
She may be a woman. She
was certainly no feminist.
She was certainly not a feminist, and women didn't like her. And I think, I'm sorry, Anne. I know you may like her. I think she took us back.
She did not. She did take us forward. No, sorry, she did.
All right. Well, we'll have that conversation another time. But Mary Beard mentioned the other day about failing leaders and look for the. As she said, you can look through this in history. The classics, wherever there's been a failing leader, look for the woman and blame her.
No.
Sherry Blair, Carrie Johnson now. it's very much we're still
Well,
going.
no, Liz Truss.
Liz Truss.
I mean,
exactly.
you know, she was. Look at Theresa May. I mean, that was
it
an
goes back
utter
to-
cock up with Brexit.
Yeah.
We didn't have
It
any
goes
plan in
back to
place.
Claudius.
Yeah,
This
we didn't
goes-
have any plan in place. They picked Theresa May, who was extremely weak. Thatcher hated her guts. You know, she was very much a yes girl. She's a former Bank of England employee, primarily brought in because she would promise to lower interest rates. And just to do as she was told. She had absolutely no support behind her. She was a former Remainer, I think, wasn't she, initially?
I don't know, actually.
But, you know, and it was a question of, oh, we're not getting any further with Brexit. And it's sort of, because Boris Johnson could have stood at the time to be the leader of the Conservatives. And he opted out. He knew it was not the right time.
Yeah.
And, you know, then he came in afterwards when we were literally at, you know, at a point of, God, are we ever going to get this, you know, get Brexit moving and actually leave the bloody European Union? And we had those years to actually put together his oven-ready plan.
What's the Theresa May?
But she was the fall guy in the middle.
We want a strong and stable leadership. It's all very.
And she actually weakened it.
She weakened it, and
It was the same with Liz Truss.
yes.
You know. So it's always the same. They're always bringing women because they think they bring them in at the worst possible time. When they, you know, particularly when we're so economically unstable. And economically at our weakest, and you know, and then they can turn and blame them for not fixing the problem.
That's what I mean.
They're usually outsiders in their own
They
parties.
set them up to fail.
They do.
And I didn't really mind Theresa May with her strong and stable, unstable leadership.
I never liked Theresa
Sorry,
May.
but you know.
So that's another thing to look at: institutional discrimination against women, and still there are very much, you know, institutions where women are also underrepresented, and they don't tend to go into these jobs. And this is not through choice, but generally because of the attitudes towards them. You know, why are you going to go into a job where you're just going to be constantly picked on and bullied every day?
Yeah.
Who's going to want to be in an all-male environment?
Oh, it's not a nice feeling.
You know,
really
to
isn't.
sit and say, "Oh, suck it up."
No,
You wouldn't.
It's not a nice.
That's why men have created these little echo chambers and
Yeah.
masons and all that, so
Well,
they
I
can
also
avoid
want
anything
to talk
like
about
that.
the madness of patriarchy, because we
Well,
now
we're
have
gonna
a
go on to
trillionaire.
that, yeah.
Sorry, the cockerel is going there.
Right. So the other thing as well is looking at cyberbullying. Women are often targeted with cyberbullying that's gender specific or sexualized. Just go on Facebook to see that. Literally, you go onto any comment section of any news page, particularly the Telegraph, or anywhere, the Daily Mail, anything. It is just a bunch of misogynists doing their victim spewing hate crap
Now, this is-
against women, against feminists.
Now, what I will say though is, do you find that the
And
internet-
casual everyday sexism. Such as catcalling, objectification, sexual harassment.
I'm permanently in a probably digital denial lifestyle, so I don't do digital media. I mean, God, you know.
Well,
how
I
long
think you
it's
should. I think everybody needs to, really. You really want to know what people are thinking and
it-
what's going on and what the social trends are, and, you know...
Do you think that's what it is? It's a
yeah.
lock. Do you think it's a door into the human psyche at the moment?
God, yeah.
Right.
Well, everyone pours their thoughts out on social media because they all think they're important,
So
including
you
us.
actually think we can tell more about what people say in writing on because to me,
Well, they're keyboard warriors, aren't they? They can say anything they like without
yes, but
without accountability, with impunity.
But that's the whole point. That's why they're saying it's not good, because when you put people face to face, you get more human interaction.
I think
you're getting the nuances of human.
They lack
interaction.
They lack the physical
And then you
intimidation
get
of
the empathy.
repercussion.
That's when you get the empathy. If you're not, if
No,
you're
it's
just
not.
speaking to someone on a screen,
No.
how are you feeling? How are you getting?
Well, I suppose it's a bit like
the
people in a
nervous
car.
systems
Yeah, I
aren't
know. Well, it's a bit like when you're in a
correlated.
car, you can like hoot each other and all that crap. See, I don't understand this because if somebody's
I'm
walking,
asking a question. I'm not saying.
yeah, but I don't understand where people are coming from with that, because to me, I'm brutally honest wherever I am. So if somebody gets in my way in the street, I'll turn around and tell them to fuck off. If somebody pulls out me in a car, I'll tell them to fuck off. To me, there's no difference. I don't understand this thing where people, when they're confronted by somebody physically, are more likely to go, "Oh, I'm sorry, no, never mind." But in a car, they'll hoot each other. It's the same principle where if you have an argument with somebody face to face, you're more likely to be diplomatic and hide how you're really feeling. So I don't think it's empathy, actually. I think it's people feel frightened to genuinely voice their views.
Right.
But, you know, they'll hold back, whereas you're a keyboard warrior with no repercussions. There's no kind of fear of physical confrontation.
You don't think eye contact then has any meaning
people will feel intimidated. Someone's like staring at them because
of
they're getting
course,
annoyed with them.
You out.
They don't want to annoy each other. But no, I don't think.
You know, the eyes are the window to the soul, so to speak. Is that? Oh, sorry. I'll just get a bucket for you, Anne.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll just get one now shortly after what I'm about to say.
So,
but don't you think that there's anything meaningful about face-to-face contact? Because I just find it quite meaningless.
I think possibly we'll go into social media another time.
All right. Okay.
Right.
Silence me.
So I'm silencing you. So whether you agree with us or not, whether you think that's the correct criteria, you might think there's more than that. There might be feminists out there who think there's a lot more than that. Which these are just a few examples of what makes a patriarchal society.
Now
so
I'm
that's
going to
just
get
7.
my Alpha Anne a coffee. Do you need a coffee, Alpha Anne? Because you're on a roll.
Yes.
Not that you.
Yes, Peter Jules.
Sorry.
Not that you need any more psychoactives. Sorry.
Sorry, coffee makes me tired.
Not
I'll be my ADHD.
Radioactive. Okay, look.
Stop showing off your singing prowess.
Look.
Do you pause this?
Look. That's the only skill I've got. So just please.
What? Gripping my shoulder.
Sorry. Okay. I'm gonna.